Welcome back to Hollywood Insiders. In this episode, we're diving deep into the 1999 buddy comedy drama Life, starring the legendary duo Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence. Wrongfully convicted of murder in 1932 Mississippi, Ray and Claude spend 65 years behind bars, proving that friendship is the ultimate escape. We're breaking down the film's transformation from a box office underdog to a beloved cult classic, including its Oscar-nominated makeup by Rick Baker and the incredible supporting cast featuring Bernie Mac and Anthony Anderson. In this video, we explore unscripted moments. Did you know Martin Lawrence's toe really got stuck in that bottle? Creative improvisation. How Eddie Murphy encouraged the cast to ad-lib, leading to some of the funniest scenes in the film. The soundtrack, a look at the platinum-certified music, including Maxwell's Fortunate. Production secrets. Why this was the only collaboration with Rick Baker, where Murphy played just one character. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into your favorite Hollywood classics. Life Ijo Zojo is an American buddy comedy drama directed by Ted Demme, starring Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence. The film tells the story of Ray Murphy and Claude Lawrence, who are wrongfully convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison. Despite its initial mixed reviews and underwhelming box office performance, it gained a cult following and received an Oscar nomination for Best Makeup. Cast: Eddie Murphy as Rayford Ray Gibson, Martin Lawrence as Claude Banks, Abba Bubba Tuned as Willie Long, Ned Beatty as Dexter Wilkins, Bernie Mac as Jangle Leg, Miguel A. Nanez Jr. as Biscuit, Clarence Williams III as Winston Hancock, Barry Shabaka Henley as Poker Face, Brent Jennings as Bob Hoppin' Bob, Guy Torry as Radio, Nick Cassavetes as Sergeant Dillard, Bakeem Woodbine as Kant, Get Right, Anthony Anderson as Cookie, Michael Talaferro as Goldsmith, Sanal Lathan as Daisy, R. Lee Ermey as older Sheriff Pike. Spanky Johnson is a character from the 1999 movie Life, played by musician Rick James, who portrays a Harlem gangster loosely inspired by the real-life figure Bumpy Johnson. The character is known for his role in the prison, filmed alongside Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence. Some people that watched the movie Life for the first time probably didn't realize that the owner of the club, a man called Spanky, was this guy, aka Rick James. Directed by Ted Demme and released in 1999. Life is a buddy comedy drama starring Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence. The film is framed as a story told in 1997 by an elderly inmate, Willie Long, during the burial of two lifers at Mississippi's Parchman Farm. Plot summary. The story begins in 1930 to Harlem, following two men with polar opposite personalities. Rayford Ray Gibson Murphy, a fast-talking petty grifter and pickpocket. Claude Banks Lawrence, a straight-laced bank teller with a promising future. After a series of mishaps involving a debt to a nightclub owner, the two team up on a bootlegging mission to Mississippi to make quick money. Their lives take a tragic turn when they are framed for a murder they did not commit by a corrupt local sheriff, sentenced to life in prison. The film follows their journey over the next 65 years as they endure the hardships of the Jim Crow-era South, engage in constant bickering, and attempt various escape plots, themes, and impact. While it is primarily a comedy, the movie is noted for its commentary on systemic injustice. It highlights the reality of wrongful imprisonment and the brutality of the 20th century prison system, race, and resilience. The film explores the endurance of black men in the face of institutional racism. Friendship, at its core. The story focuses on the evolving bond between Ray and Claude, which transforms from mutual dislike to a deep brotherhood. Notable features. Cast. The film features an ensemble of comedy legends, including Bernie Mac, Anthony Anderson, and Bekeem Woodbine. Makeup. The movie received an Academy Award nomination for Best Makeup, which was used to realistically age Murphy and Lawrence across 6 decades. Soundtrack. The Platinum Certified soundtrack featured the hit song Fortunate by Maxwell. The ending spoiler. In a final twist, it is revealed that Ray and Claude faked their deaths in a prison fire by swapping their bodies with 2 already deceased inmates from the morgue. The film ends with the 2 elderly men living out their remaining days in freedom, watching a baseball game together at Yankee Stadium. In the 1999 film Life, 1930s Mississippi is depicted as a landscape of stark racial segregation and systemic injustice, contrasting sharply with the main characters' lives in Harlem, Jim Crow-era realities. The film portrays the era's social climate through several specific lenses. Deep-seated racism. The state is shown as a place where white-only rules were strictly enforced. In one notable scene, a diner owner threatens Ray Eddie Murphy with a shotgun after he suggests his money is as good as anyone else's to buy a pie. Systemic injustice. The depiction focuses on the legalized plantation system. The characters are framed for murder by a corrupt, racist sheriff and swiftly sentenced to life by a hanging judge, reflecting the lack of due process for black men at the time, illiteracy and education. The film highlights the legacy of slavery through an older inmate who has held a letter for months because he cannot read. This reflects the historical reality where education for black Americans in the South was systematically suppressed. Mississippi State Penitentiary Parchman Farm. The movie places a heavy focus on the real-life Parchman Farm, depicting it as a brutal labor camp. Hard labor. Inmates are shown performing grueling manual labor in cotton fields under the supervision of armed guards, a system designed to generate income for the state. Following the abolition of slavery. Internalized racism. The film explores the psychological impact of the era through characters like Hoppin' Bob, who becomes overly subservient to white authorities to survive, illustrating the complex social dynamics within the prison. Atmospheric elements. Prohibition and moonshine. The plot is set against the backdrop of Prohibition, with Ray and Claude traveling south specifically to run bootlegged moonshine. Cultural shifts over decades. The film shows the character's slow integration into Southern culture. For instance, Ray eventually adopts a Southern accent despite initially mocking it. While the film uses these historical realities to ground its story, it balances the grim setting with humor and a focus on the characters. Resilience and evolving brotherhood. In the 1999 film Life, director Ted Demme and cinematographer Jeffrey Simpson utilized specific visual strategies to differentiate the vibrant atmosphere of 1930s Harlem from the oppressive, sun-drenched reality of Jim Crow-era Mississippi. Cinematography and visual style. Contrasting palettes. The film begins in Harlem with a noir-inspired aesthetic, featuring deep shadows and inky blackness to evoke the urban nightlife. Once the characters move south, the cinematography shifts to a high-key, naturalistic lighting style that emphasizes the heat and exposure of the Mississippi Delta, the Parchman aesthetic, to capture the brutal conditions of the Mississippi State Penitentiary. Parchment Farm. The camera often uses wide, spherical framing 1.85 to 1 aspect ratio to show the vast, inescapable horizons of the cotton fields. This creates a sense of confinement in the open, where the scale of the landscape highlights the prisoner's lack of freedom. Dynamic versus static camera. The early scenes in New York feature more fluid camera movement to reflect the characters' fast-paced lives. In contrast, the prison scenes often utilize more stable, locked-off frames to mimic the stagnation of a life sentence. That's going to do it for this episode of Hollywood Insiders. We ask for you to support the channel by liking, sharing, subscribing. We will see you in the next episode. Thank you for watching.